The self-control theory was developed by Travis Hirashi and Michael Gottfredson in 1990. This theory states that criminal behavior can be explained by the level of self-control that an individual possesses. Self-control links parental efficacy and delinquent behavior. The parsimony of the theory is simple, as it states there is only one factor, which is self-control, that links parenting and delinquency. The theory explains delinquent behavior in general, rather than focusing on one behavior, therefore the scope of the theory is broad. Self-control does have a plausible connection to parental efficacy and delinquency, however, it is not logical that self-control is the only contributing factor.
The assumption of human nature. This theory assumes that people are born neither good nor bad, much like the tabula rasa theory or the blank slate theory. Parental efficacy and self-control contribute to whether or not someone becomes good or bad. So consensual or conflictual micro-macro. This theory is studied through macro-analysis, as the data was drawn from several groups. However, the groups lack diversity and random selection. Therefore, it's hard to generalize the findings to a larger population. This study appears to be conflictual, as society and other factors may contribute to the levels of self-control demonstrated.
Main proposition. The two propositions of this article are whether parenting affects youth's level of self-control and whether self-control facilitates the relationship between delinquency and parenting. Central concepts. This theory assumes that there is a link between self-control and crime. The lower the level of self-control, the more likely they are to commit the crime. Parenting can affect a child's level of self-control as well. There is a relationship between self-control, parental efficacy, and delinquent behavior. Operationalization of variables. In this experiment, control variables such as demographic and social characteristics were noted. These characteristics are age, race, sex, family income, whether or not the parents are married or divorced, and measure of deviant peers. In this experiment, scientists were measuring levels of self-control and levels of delinquency in order to compare the two and see if there is a correlation. The hypothesis of this theory is that parenting is the primary influence on children's levels of self-control. The results of the experiment show that self-control does not completely mediate the relationship between the efficiency of parents and delinquency. There is no significant skews between self-control and a child's delinquency. This is not the only significant relationship between the two, making them possibly nonlinear. Conclusion. Parenting significantly affects the level of self-control in young people, but does not completely mediate the relationship. Other factors that affect self-control are family structure, race, sex, and age. This research shows that the relationship between self-control and delinquency may be more complex than previously thought. The fact that self-control facilitates the relationship between delinquency and parenting is limited. A strong predictor for delinquency is the amount of deviant peers.
General support for the theory. While self-control does facilitate a link between parental efficacy and delinquent behavior, it's not the only factor that should be considered. In order to produce a more concrete theory, more research should be conducted on a more macro level.